million meals. I don't cook, so I use this.
Cool. Hi, everybody. I'm Michael. I'm a co-founder of Nootrobox, Nutrients for Your Brain. And I just want to say thank you to George for setting this up. It's awesome. We actually met a day ago, 2 days ago, yesterday.
That's right.
Officially.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so I and some people I see in the crowd, we do this thing called intermittent fasting. Has anyone tried it? Oh, that's a lot of real people. So yeah, we have this group of intermittent fasting where, I mean, you do whatever you want, but the typical thing is like you fast on Tuesday, you eat 0 calories on Tuesday, and then on Wednesday you break the fast, come to our biohacker breakfast, and yeah, meet other cool people. So that's how we actually met yesterday. This isn't a talk about intermittent fasting. I could give a whole other talk about intermittent fasting. It's great. You live longer. You feel better. Cool. This is a talk about nootropics. So nootropics, nutrients for your brain. What the hell is going on? Like, what is this trend going on from like kind of ambient hum in up till 2011, and this up to the right surge of nootropics? Like this. To back up a step, nootropics are they're literally nutrients for your brain. It's stuff you eat to help you have better memory or focus or attention. Why this sudden influx? Like what are we doing here? I think there's a lot of reasons why nootropics are taking off. Why we're here? Why we are all here together talking about peak performance. I think it's really interesting. Like you think about like 5-6 years ago, if someone was wearing a Fitbit, or if someone was like walking around counting their footsteps, right? They'd be crazy. You'd be like, "What's that?" You'd be Rain Man, right? Like you'd be like, it was really nuts. But now it's common. Everyone does it. Like who has something to count their footsteps on them right now? Yeah, it's super common, super widespread. In general, there's this huge trend towards understanding ourselves. A big thesis that we have at Nootrobox is that humans are the next platform. I think more than ever, we're aware that your input affects your output, and we're getting better and better technology to understand ourselves and also to affect ourselves. And nootropics are, everyone eats. So nootropics are de facto one of the best ways of modulating your performance. Your brain is chemicals, right? Like all these things that we think and feel and sense and perceive are actually just neurons firing. So wherever there's a receptor, there's something that can block that receptor, right? So wherever there's something that makes you feel tired, there's something that can block that. Wherever there's something that makes you feel stressed, there's something that can block that. An important thing is you want things with low side effect profile when you're doing that. But the fact is, it's like these things that we think are real, that feel real about our perception, are actually very malleable. Anyone who's had like a glass of alcohol or something else, like you get it, right? That your brain can change depending on what you put into it. Biohacking, oh my god. This is us. This is what I look like when I shirt. So biohacking, when you think about biohacking, you think about stuff, implants, cybernetics, soiling, steroids, GMOs, all this crazy stuff, right? We think it's really, really intense. But then I would say, okay, let's think about biohacking. Like this is kind of this buzzword. Let's take a step back. What about this stuff? What about antibiotics? Is that a biohack? What about contact lenses? Is that a biohack? Kind of, yeah, right? Like I think I love the word biohacking. I think it expresses something that's very modern that's going on right now. But I also think that like humans forever have been biohacking. Where like these
clothes.
What's that?
Clothes.
Clothes are a biohack, right? Yeah. We're always doing stuff to enhance our own biological abilities. Like, one of my favorite phrases is participant evolution. We're one of the only species that actually has like participated in our own evolution. Like we are building tools, we're building technologies to help enhance our own biological abilities, and that's cool. It's been going on forever. Are we already cyborgs? Yes, right? Like compared to someone 200 years ago, we're all like we have glasses, contact lenses, and antibiotics. Like we're already crazy robots, right? So what's next? That's what I spend all day thinking about. Is like what is next? Nootropics again. So this is like more. We talked a little bit at the beginning, but this is a little bit more succinct definition of what are nootropics. Right? Broad classification of drugs or compounds with cognitive enhancing properties, minimal side effects, appropriate for long-term use. So also known as smart drugs. And like, how do you classify this stuff? Anyone who goes on like the subreddit for nootropics, you see all sorts of stuff. It's like, I just tried some like Russian Alzheimer's medicine and I feel really weird. What do you think? Or, I bought this stuff on Alibaba. It doesn't seem legit. You guys think it's legit? Like, there's all this stuff going on, right? That ranges from like, there's prescription stuff, Adderall, Ritalin. There's over-the-counter stuff, like something you can walk into the drugstore and have. Then there's supplements. Then there's also like gray area things. Like, you can just buy a research chemical. The FDA doesn't say that it can be sold for human consumption, but it's also not illegal to be sold. Maybe you're using it in your science lab, right? Or maybe you're eating it or something. So there's this whole and it's crazy. It's the wild, wild west. There's all this random stuff you can try. There's all this as I call bro science behind I tried this, it's not very scientific or realistic. So I just want to say where's our approach? Where did we start? We saw this huge potential, but then we're just kind of confused and startled by the madness of the overall nootropics space. I think a lot of times when you say the word supplements, when I told my parents I was working in supplements, it has this connotation of being very unscientific, imprecise, a lot of proprietary blends. Let's throw the whole kitchen sink in there and tell people that this is awesome and exaggerate, and that's been the supplements industry forever. Our approach is completely different, right? We actually look at what has scientific white papers behind it, what has double-blind, placebo-backed studies that suggest that, hey, this actually increases your memory when you take it habitually, because guess what? They had a bunch of people, they had a large N who took it and a large N who took a placebo, and these people had better memory at the end of the trial, right? And multiple scientists have shown the same result. So we started with just first principles of hey, let's have stuff that works. We also started at the first principle of let's just be transparent. We're not going to have a proprietary blend. So we have people think we're really smart because our products are literally rotate at 180 degrees. You can read everything that's in it. You can go make your own. You can go rip us off. You can make your own stack. And but on the other hand, there's no funny business, right? When you hear proprietary blend, it's just kind of code word in the industry for whatever the hell was left on the shelf. It is really nothing more or less to it. These are our products. So we have Sprint, which is basically that's what there's samples of. If you didn't get a sample from talk to me, I can get you samples. Sprint's instead of a cup of coffee, there's stuff that works a lot better than coffee. For instance, there's something called theanine, which it increases alpha waves in your brain. It reduces your stress levels. It's found in tea. It's what gives tea a more relaxing effect. And there's a whole body of science behind what's the right amount of theanine to combine with caffeine, and what has a proven effect on people's attention and memory compared to just caffeine, compared to just placebo. So Sprint has caffeine, it has theanine, it has a bunch of other stuff to help you with getting shit done this afternoon. Rise is something you take habitually, increases your baseline cognitive performance, and Yawn is something you take to go to bed. And so again, if this is what the industry looks like. You have people trying their powders, trying their research chemicals, trying their prescription stuff, trying their over-counter stuff. What we've done is we're a supplement, right? We're made in the same types of factories that make protein powder or a pre-workout blend or something like that. So one interesting comparison is there's steroids and then there's protein powder. We're a lot more like a protein powder. Another place to get started, so we have this biohacker guide where we talk about nootropics. We also talk about intermittent fasting, and we talk about meditation. We talk about all these other things you can try to become your best self. So I think that's a good place to start. Join us for Biohacker Breakfast. You can meet me and people who know a ton more than me even. Some of them are in the audience, and they know about nootropics, other types of biohacking. And this is one of my favorite quotes I just want to end on, which is that if an alien were looking at humanity and asking, what is nature? One of the ingredients would be that these beings seem quite concerned with improving their capacities, and they seem to have a knack for doing it. I just really love that kind of outside view, that third-person view on society and where we're going. And I think that humans are the next platform, right? We've seen all these technological trends happen in our lifetimes, right? We've seen PCs become a thing. The internet becomes a thing. Smartphones become a thing. I truly believe humans are the next platform. I think the next decade, we're going to see this tremendous wave of innovation that's going to allow us to see what's going on inside our bodies and allow us to modulate that. So I'm excited to be part of that. This is a really cool turnout here. You guys are obviously part of it. And I think I have a big hunch that this is going to be completely mainstream, just the same way that Fitbits are. I think we have a whole deluge of other stuff coming that everyone's going to be using. It's an exciting time to be alive. Yeah, questions?
Question. What substances would you love to be able to sell that you're not allowed to?
That's a good question. I think when it comes to when it comes to regulation, like, there's, let me just say, so I actually am not going to avoid the question. I have some concrete answers, but let me just explain, like, just in general, why a lot of stuff is, like, illegal or, like, gray area. Basically, like, the entire medical industry, the way it works is it's based on therapeutical, right? It's based on, you have a disease, let's fix you. You have Alzheimer's, let's fix it. You have diabetes, let's fix it. You have cancer, let's fix it, right?
Not.
Sorry?
Or not. Or not fix it.
Yeah,
Sell you
okay.
stuff.
Yeah, I'll sell you stuff that's supposed to fix it. Like, it's all about, like, problem and then solution. And what's really interesting is this whole idea of, like, enhancement is, like, completely under research. Like, there's a ton of stuff that's, like, right in front of you that may or may not work. And so there's a lot of things that haven't been, like, they haven't, like, demonstrated that they cure a disease, and therefore they stayed in this, like, kind of purgatory of gray area where you can't really, like, put it into a pill and sell it to people. And then there's also just like, okay, so to answer your question, one thing I think would be great, I think straight up like THC, CBD, cannabis in general, across the board should just be legal, period. I think that psilocybin, like the chemical inside of magic mushrooms, should be legal. Like it's actually crazy. Like, people don't get addicted to psychoactive drugs. Like, people actually, you can take psychoactives to like detach from your addiction to cigarettes or alcohol or whatever. Like, magic mushrooms showed like a 50% success rate in like smoking cessation. Like, if people were trying to quit smoking, you do like one mushroom strip, you're like, everything's everything, I only have one life, I'm poisoning my body, like, you throw the pack away. And like other smoking cessation programs have like a 5% success rate. So I think straight off the bat, THC, CBD should be legal. I'd be a big fan of magic mushrooms being legal. Besides that, there's things like Meetup, which is it just enhances brain activity, quickens things up, and that should be legal. I think in general, I'm curious to see what's going to happen. I think a lot of things should be available for enhancement, and that there should be like a tax on it that should go into further research of that. But by and large, we should be treated like adults and be allowed to do whatever we want. What's that? Nootropic?
Regulated,
yeah. So,
it's not like it's available.
Right.
It's not necessarily.
And then one, yeah. So one of the yeah. Yeah. So they're talking about Nootropic. Nootropic is like classic one that like a lot of people love. They swear by it. They're like, I take this, I'm like extremely lucid, and I'm able to just zone in on my work. But it's not like on the FDA whitelist of things that can be sold as a supplement. So yeah, you can buy a bag of it online from Alibaba, or you can buy it from someone who's like, sorry, Harvard City. Yeah, you can buy it from someone who's like, you know, wheeling and dealing and down to sell it. But there's nothing to say that like the FTC won't like send them a letter tomorrow. The FDA won't send them a letter tomorrow. And there's also, I think one of the big disadvantages actually behind stuff like Nootropic not being legal is that it's really hard to like enforce. If it was legal, you could have like a regimen around like, here's how we test for it. Here's how it's enforced. Here's the proper dosage. But we can't have any of that because it's illegal, right? It's like the old thing of like, it's what we're seeing with medical marijuana. It's the old thing like if no one's talking about it, people are still doing it, but they're not doing it in a very informed way. But if it's legal and it's sanctioned, then you can actually like let people do it responsibly, and you can get it to them pure in a way that's not going to have heavy metal poisoning, or not going to be overdosed or underdosed. So that, I think that's one of the big classic reasons behind legalizing like everything. Right? If you're going to take like ecstasy or something, hey, it's great if you can like actually just know what's in it. Right? It's great if there's education around that instead of just buying from some guy. Yeah.
So, as a company or a person who is set to profit from self-experimentation, self-improvement, do you feel any responsibility to, or do you have a plan for how you might bring people together to actually like lobby for these things, to educate people? Because we're kind of preaching to the choir here, but I think a lot of people don't understand what this is about. Do you feel like you have any plans for how you can help preserve this situation and possibly improve it?
So, basically, how do we educate everybody? Like,
well, not so much that, but like you could see how this could pretty quickly become illegal, right? Someone gets concerned, some bad things happen, this thing gets blamed because it's a scapegoat. Like, do you have any plans for, or as someone who's going to profit from the fact that people experiment and from the fact that people try to prove themselves, do you have any plans for like forming a consortium or just some way to either like prevent these things from becoming the target of regulation and educating people such that people can experiment safely and self-improve safely?
Yeah, I think it's a great point. I think that like if I'm all for a restructuring of the supplements industry in general. I would be okay if there's no proprietary blends anywhere. I'd be okay if everyone has to do a high degree of testing and like proving the efficacy of their stuff and the purity of the compounds that they're putting into their products. I think across the board that would just be a win for everyone. Because I think, frankly, a lot of the issues that happen with supplements are like accidental. Someone takes something that's like not what they thought it was, or they like bought a bag of something off the internet and they tried to like microdose it. They tried to measure 10 micrograms of it, and they accidentally measured 22 micrograms. You know how small a microgram is? Like you can accidentally like go crazy on it, and that's the problem. I think that's a much more real harm. I also think it'd be interesting in general if across the board we legalize a lot of stuff, added a tax to it, and use that tax to pay for research. I think it'd be a very interesting model. Like not just for nootropics, but literally like enhancement across the board. Like there's something really weird going on in society, right? Where we have medicine, like doctors, they do no harm, they fix you when you're better, but there's all these things, all these devices, all these Apple Health apps, all these nootropics, these soylents, these things that people are doing to enhance themselves that don't really look like what medicine has been focusing on. And we need a way to help people use that stuff, to help people enhance in an informed way. And I think that there's a lot of things that are going to change, including regulation. And I think it's discussed time. Yeah.
I may be misremembering, but I don't recall acetyl L-carnitine as being in your products. And
Right, we have alpha GPC, a different source of choline.
Oh, acetyl L-carnitine was supplies choline?
Sorry, no. No, yeah.
Okay, I'm just curious. I think of there being a wide range of nootropics, and if you could say a few words about things that weren't included in your products.
Oh, like Nootropic or
Yeah.
Racetams,
Like
I'd love
a
to understand the racetams.
Yeah, I mean,
that may be too controlled, but
yeah, I mean, I think honestly, like if you want to like get into the details about like the specific like neuro properties of specific nootropics, like let's take it offline. We can look at like the research behind specific stuff. Any questions?
How do you think about determining proper dosing across all the parameters? So male, female, weight, what you need in the last.
Yeah,
synergy.
that's a great question. Yeah, like there's certain things that maybe you're on prescription drugs and that's already occupying a certain uptake pathway that would block this or that. I think that's generally an unsolved problem. And I think an interesting solution to it is something that like holistically encompasses like what you're eating, who you are, what your DNA is. Are you a high producer of vitamin D or a low producer? Do you have high sensitivity to caffeine or low sensitivity to caffeine? What's in your blood? What's in your microbiome? And so, like take that all together and be able to like, your name's Vijay? Yep. Yeah, print out the Vijay pill in the morning, right? Like that's like that's the coolest thing ever, and we can get there. So that's definitely something that's in our crosshairs. Yeah, one brick at a time, for sure. One more question. One more. Yes.
So I have a bit of an, I guess, ethical question, if you will.
Sure.
So there is doping, physical doping in the sports world.
Yeah.
Right? Do you see essentially doping the brain becoming a similar scenario where in some, I mean, we all compete right now in intellectual, like this is our professionally compete with our brains. Do you see that becoming a sensitive, it's already a sensitive thing, the topics are, but do you see that something becoming an issue in the workplace or in the scientific domain or anywhere else where this is used as doping for your brain and that could become, I don't know, like ethically tampered?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. That's actually, I'm trying to. Yeah, this is like the kind of next slide, like the post-appendix slide of like how should we regulate it? How should we think about things? So the question is like, look, like we don't allow doping. Like Lance Armstrong got his medals taken away because he was doping the Tour de France, right? So we don't allow doping in the NFL, NBA, all these things. I think a super important distinction between sports and knowledge is that knowledge is not zero sum. Like in the NFL, one team wins, the other team loses. That's just like it's a zero sum game. When it comes to society and intelligence, if everyone in this room, if everyone in the world is 10% smarter, that's like a good thing. Like we all win from that. And so it's not inherently a competitive thing necessarily. Like you want the people who are building your bridges or researching cancer to be smarter, better people. And so that's I think that's the rebuttal to what I think is a common question that people have about like the ethics behind it. I think that in general we want everyone to be better.
Well, we want everyone to be physically more capable too, but there is competition. In sports, there is intellectual competition. Yes, as a society, we want everyone to do better.
Right.
But we live in a conditions where people can.
Yeah, and I think that's more of a comment on like our education system that like it's predominantly competitive. Because again, I think in general, like the more that we have knowledge and the better our abilities are to soak up that knowledge as like a society, I think that it's a win.
I'd like to add one thing to that, actually. If you take a look at what we consider energizing and healthy food, we've made leaps and bounds in terms of what we understand as to what we put inside our bodies actually turns into real energy in the real world so we can operate efficiently. So if we are eating a better diet than someone else, are we cheating? Is it possible that nootropics could become part of society as a food that we are ingesting on a daily basis or semi-daily basis to make sure that we are optimally operating? So I'm not sure whether that is whether that is a real conundrum, but I think that it could become something that is like food on a daily basis where we just don't consider it cheating as long as we know that we're putting good things into our bodies, as long as there's testing behind it to prove it.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. Anybody have any questions? We good? Okay, so I think round of applause, by the way.
I'm not going to keep everybody here from food because all I want to do is just say thank you for coming, and I hope everybody learned something. I did. So please go grab some food from Two Forks and enjoy, and grab some bulletproof coffee too. All right, thanks guys.